So I can't believe I'm about to talk about Yamcha for a video, but I read the first chapter of the new Dragon Ball spin-off about Yamcha, and I mean, move over SAO, move over, no game, no life, get over there, because I am pleasantly surprised at how hilarious and how awesome this little manga is right now. Based off chapter 1, I'm shocked. I did not think you could take something like Yamcha, a spin-off at that, about Yamcha, and make something awesome and funny and just overall like a Dragon Ball fan that knows the series, that knows, you know, from Dragon Ball to Z and stuff like that, is going to have a blast with this first chapter at the very least, because alone the references, when you start off, because in case you don't know about this, essentially it's this high school kid, he has an accident where he ends up falling down some stairs and he's reincarnated seemingly as Yamcha. He was a big Dragon Ball fan. I mean, I love the references. I mean, they referenced Dokkan in the beginning. They mentioned a couple different things before we even jump into it. So he knows the story and he knows how to avert disaster, essentially. And it kind of also plays into the fact that he's a high school kid in Japan that, you know, doesn't really know about girls like that and shit. So it plays nicely into early Yamcha, because if you've seen Dragon Ball, early Yamcha, he didn't really know about girls, shit like that. He was very inexperienced. So it's almost like it's a perfect fit. It's like, yeah, Yamcha was the same way at the beginning of Dragon Ball, and this guy is playing the part. But the thing about it is that since he knows the series, like I talked about in my announcement video about this, he can avert many different things that's going to happen to him. One of the things about this that I was a little bit disappointed with is the fact that they skipped over tons of stuff from Dragon Ball, because seemingly he popped in almost at the very beginning of when Yamcha was, you know, introduced. I think this was like maybe the end of the first arc of Dragon Ball, so he popped in there and it's like Bulma's already there, and then it kind of just skips over to Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, oh, I really wish we could have get some of Yamcha, what he would have done in the Dragon Ball world. Like, you know, since he knows everything, he could have changed some things. Hell, he could have been the one to defeat King Piccolo. So I was a little bit disappointed that they skipped from that arc straight to Z, because one of his fears was, oh damn, I remember Yamcha died at the hands of the Cybermen, so I need to train for that. And while, yeah, he's doing a couple different things, I mean, for starters, instead of going and just shacking up with Bulma, he promises to do everything for Bulma. And I love how he even references back that the fact that Yamcha cheated on Bulma, and that's why they broke up and shit like that. This time around, he's like, nah, Bulma, I'm gonna be faithful to you. So the comedy, the references, all of that shit, hilarious. And I mean, to see him rise to the top as Yamcha and defeat even the Cybermen is great stuff. I really wish that this chapter was even longer. Apparently, from my understanding, this was a fan that was doing a lot of different things like this, and ultimately Shueisha was like, yo, you're getting some popularity, we like this, we want to license it, we want to put it out on our Shonen Jump Plus app and something like that. So that's how this all came about. But I mean, I honestly, for a Dragon Ball fan, maybe you don't like Yamcha, maybe you don't care, whatever, but for a Dragon Ball fan that's gonna get the references from the beginning of the series, that's gonna know Yamcha and shit like that, and wants a laugh, totally recommend. I honestly feel as though it's kind of a cross between, of course, you know, it's Dragon Ball, but it's also playing into some of the modern day anime cliches and shit like that, of like, I'm getting tossed into this random world and I have no idea differences. Like, essentially, maybe you could argue that it's kind of similar to some things, but okay, like for example, you go to SAO, you have Kirito, that he's very experienced with video games and that's why he kicks ass or whatever. This guy is experienced at Dragon Ball. Again, at the beginning of the series, he's freaking talking about being #1 at a Dokkan thing, and hands down one of the best things that I loved about it was in the beginning he was like, why Yamcha, why couldn't I be Goku or Vegeta? It felt as though like this is something one of us would have said. Like one of us Dragon Ball fans would have been like, Yamcha, really? Out of everybody? And I honestly feel as though that would be my luck. If I fell down some steps and broke my wee little neck and I was reincarnated, I would be Yamcha, because that would be what happens to me. So I love it. I honestly highly recommend, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you want to laugh, you want to see something a little bit different, and at the same time, maybe you like those SAOs and shit like that, this is the type of thing that you want to check out. It's funny, and it's going to do things seemingly different. I mean, again, based on what happened in the first chapter, it looks like Yamcha could end up with Bulma. Like, things could be very different. Trunks could never happen. There's so many different things, and it's like, I highly recommend for a joke and just overall for a good time. This shit was awesome for Dragon Ball fans. Maybe if you don't really care like that about Dragon Ball, then you're probably not going to want to check it out, because it has a lot of little neat references. Or if you're only a Z fan, you're not going to understand the beginning with the jokes of how Yamcha first met Bulma and Goku and stuff like that. But yeah, really fucking awesome stuff. But let me know what you think. If you've seen chapter 1, if you read chapter 1, do you like it? Do you feel as though, like, you could tell this was a fan that drew this. You could totally tell because, again, all the references, he knows Dragon Ball. Like, a fan definitely did this. He knows the material enough to be able to add all these neat little references. My only criticism, again, is why skip all of Dragon Ball straight up until, like, the Saiyan Saga? I understand that that's one of his biggest fears when he goes into this world, but there's so much rich stuff. We could have had Yamcha versus King Piccolo. We could have had Yamcha versus Mercenary Tao. We could have had Yamcha win some of these tournaments and shit like that. Like, that's my only criticism. But aside from that, funny shit. And yeah, I honestly think a lot of people would pick this over SAO, No Game No Life, and all those other series that do the trapped in another world or in a video game or something like that, because it's that damn funny. And your overall thoughts, but that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.